following up on that joint parliamentary sitting today, but in studio with me, Senator Ledama, you say it is not a joint parliamentary sitting. No. Is that an indication that the opposition will not be participating in this?
Of course, we're not participating in it. We are not, because the committee that was passed only has Jubilee members. So this is a Jubilee parliamentary team. It's actually a Jubilee parliamentary group meeting with people. And my question to my good friend Chepkwonga, and I'm actually very friendly, is that what if every Kenyan who comes in tells you, no, we do not want these legislation amendments? What are you going to do? Are you going to go ahead and come in and say, oh, the Kenyans say they don't want, but since we are there, we represent them, we'll go ahead and pass them?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, please.
You know, Article 118 of the Constitution, it is no longer the exclusive preserve of Parliament to make laws. The Constitution recognizes that Kenyans must participate in lawmaking. And so that is the reason why this parliamentary committee, ad hoc committee, is meeting. And this is a committee that was approved by Parliament. This Parliament was sworn. They are sitting in accordance with their calendar. Some members have decided or chosen to be absent, and you know, choices have consequences. If you fail, just like those people who are campaigning in the no campaign, they did not participate in that in saying yes.
In government
but
now.
the law, the constitution is binding. And let me remind you, Michelle, there is no constitutional provision which is subject of amendment in this legislation. And let me say this, my good friend Senator Ledema, you've done a good job today in the Standard, page 13. You have carried out a full explanation of these proposed laws. And I would ask him to grab one of the standards as we leave here, so that he can get a full explanation on the various aspects of these proposed amendments. Two, I want to tell you, we have amended the law that was was agreed upon.
Yes, as you wrap up.
We amended in December last year. So what was criminal about that? In fact, in the minor KI case, it was quoted extensively. In fact, the court held that the manual, the complementary mechanism, and they defined and interpreted to mean it must be a system that is separate, a system that is in addition to electronic. And so what this law is seeking to do is to provide exclusively for that other particular system. And the Supreme Court stated as well. The Supreme Court stated, the Maraga 4, the majority, forget about the two dissenting ones. They said the IBC needs to put in place the complementary mechanism and publish it. What this law is just telling them, because as you know judges are not allowed to make law. You know the Constitution is very clear. The only body which is vested with the mandate of making law is members of Parliament, which my good friend Honorable Ledema is currently sitting. Forget about him saying that I lost. You know, I am a lawyer. I am a lawyer. And let me say this. Let me say this finally. You know, the question of removal of commissioners at IBC, of members of staff, there is a law. We must act in a constitutional manner. Even when you are demonstrating in a constitutional manner, you must also act in a constitutional manner. You must show your displeasure, but you cannot show your displeasure in a manner you stone me. You know, when I'm driving, you know, and I'm asking Senator Ledema, he's a good gentleman. I know he's very civil and decent. Please don't stone me when I'm driving.
All right, gentlemen, we need to wind up. At the end of the day, Honorable Chepkwonga, kindly, my last question. At the end of the day, Jubilee has proposed amendments. NASA has irreducible minimums. What would it take for these two teams to sit down in the interest of the 45 million Kenyans that you both claim to want to serve? Senator Ledama.
Please, Michelle, allow me to just comment on a couple of issues.
This will be a final comment.
You know, no, not stoning you, because that one is uncouth and uncivilized, and I would never do that. I think it is not right. What is happening in terms of these amendments to this legislation, I want to take you back to the 11th Parliament, where you served diligently, where, in fact, one of my good old-time senators, Senator Mositit, he lost his seat because he refused to vote for the amendments at that particular time. And I remember then, the president himself called all the Jubilee guys and told them, you must vote for this. Let us not allow one arm of government to be able to control the other two arms of government. The other issue is this. I agree with you. completely that we must follow the law. I think it's Article 243 of the Constitution that set up the process of removing state officers. 251. I agree. There's no problem with that. But when it comes to the issue of complicity, then we've got to be able to move fast. Because these are things that have been legislated on. So what is it going to take for us to be able to sit down together? That's a very good question. I think that is a question that best answered by Jubilee, number one. Jubilee has got to throw away this amendment legislation, which they are bringing in. Jubilee has got to agree, because the next move we are going to make now, and let me tell you, and I hope that someone somewhere will do it, is that we are going to even sue the French company in France that messed up this election, because we cannot allow. This election is very, very important. So what it will take for us to do this is that these guys, Jubilee, feels that they now have a bargaining chip. So let them bring it. We'll sit down on the table. Let us not lie to Kenyans that a joint parliamentary, a bipartisan parliamentary group is sitting in City Hall to listen to their mandate. This is a Jubilee parliamentary group which is sitting there to say, gentlemen, we are in power. We want to be able to run, and we want your views. I guarantee you the views that they're going to receive today, and I hope that the good media will be able to air them live to hear what people will say. People will say, this is not the right time for this.
Many thanks, Mr. Ledama. Very briefly, Honorable Chipkonga, your closing comments.
Let me just say this. The reason why they are sitting is not to receive views in support of the bill or in opposition of the bill. They just want to receive views from Kenyans.
What do you mean?
Two, that is a properly constituted committee following the rules of the House. If you decide by choice to abscond your duties as a member of Parliament, it is you who will bear the consequences. Two, democracy, as we know it. That is the best form of governance that we know. We have tried all the rest, dictatorship, we have tried military governorship, we have tried all other things. But this constitution guarantees democracy. What does democracy mean? It means the rule by the majority. But it allows the minority, like Honorable Ledema or Senator Ledema, to have their say. But the majority must, at the end of the day, have their way. And so how do they intend to conduct themselves? They just need to sit down. They just need to come to the table, let them remove their cards under the table that they call irreducible minimum, bring them on top of the table. They discuss with IBC. IBC will tell them what is possible and what is not possible, just like the invoice told them. That there are certain things that cannot be done. If you do them, you are going to dismember IBC, and they will not be able to conduct
but remember, the invoice told you the same. So the laws are not right.
We are not saying that the envoys are our standard bearers. We are saying Kenyans are our standard bearers. We must follow the Constitution. We must obey our laws that we have enacted.
All right, thank you. Honorable Chipkonga, we're out of time. This is a conversation that could take all day. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of this conversation. Honorable Olekina Ledama is the Narok Senator, while Honorable Samuel Chipkonga is the former immediate Member of Parliament for Ainabkoi constituency and the former chair of the Legal Affairs and Justice Committee. Many thanks for being